Hi, my name is Christopher van der Made, and I'm a security developer advocate at Cisco DevNet. Today, in this very short lightning talk, I'm going to talk to you about SecureX threat response and how to integrate that with Twitter. Now, you might ask yourself, why would you integrate SecureX with Twitter? Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. And the other half of the presentation, I'll do a demo of how this actually, what this looks like. Now, before we dive into that, I would like to talk to you about threat hunting in general. So before we go into the actual topics, let's have a look at that. Now, this is what is called the threat hunting loop, or the hunting loop. Basically, it starts by creating hypotheses like, hey, I got hacked then and then. You start to investigate and you find out tools and techniques via your investigation. You uncover new patterns and new TTPs. And what you're going to do then is you're going to inform and enrich that with your analytics. And by doing that, you can either confirm or deny your hypothesis. Now, if you look at this loop, especially the highlighted area right now, so the enrichment, is something that you can actually automate quite easily. So that's what we're going to do today in this example. Shown here, you have the hunting maturity model, or HMM. And as you can see, you have your level 0 all the way on the left and your level 4 all the way on top. And if you have a look at the highlighted area right now, you see that automation is actually one of the key pillars in getting to a higher level. If you are able to automate a majority of your data analysis procedures, as is mentioned here, you are one of the leading levels of hunting maturity. Whereas all the way at the bottom, you just rely on some automated alerting. So why not try this with the script that I basically made? And by the way, the script will be completely available to you afterwards. Now, if you don't know what Cisco Threat Response or SecureX Threat Response is, let me walk you through it. So Threat Response is a tool to do threat hunting that we just talked about. And basically, it allows you to retrieve extra information for observables and take action on it, as the name mentioned, response. So basically, when you start an investigation using Threat Response, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can start with intel sources, for example, Talos. You can start from a case in Casebook, like that you have opened some notes about a certain incident. You can even start directly from an incident, for example, from the next-gen firewall or advanced malware protection. Now, what you then want to investigate is, what do you know about these observables? So in these sources, there might be all kinds of observables, which can be IP addresses, hashes, URLs, etc. And you want to ask your threat intelligence, what do you know about this? Is this bad? Is this malicious? Now, the other part of the investigation is where you go and query your internal monitoring. Like, has this been seen in my environment? Did any of my hosts reach out to this malicious IP address? And when you know those things, you want to reach to a point where you can do a response. And all of those things, like responding, as you can see here, very small, but it's highlighted on the screen, to add a file hash to a block list, for example. Now that is threat response when you do it manually, but obviously today we'll have a look at what that looks like in Python. So let's talk to you a little bit about the hashtag OpenDir, because obviously I told you we're going to integrate Twitter. So hashtag OpenDir is a hashtag that is actually used by so-called white hat analysts or white hat hackers, or basically threat researchers that do research in cybersecurity. And they post their findings very often using this hashtag OpenDir. And as you can see here, there's a lot of URLs, IP addresses, etc., that they share in their tweets. Now, obviously, as an analyst working at a security operations center, I'm not able to go and look at all of these tweets and manually go to threat response to do that. So therefore, I created a script that looks at these tweets, as you can see here highlighted on the screen. Now the script flowchart looks a little bit like this. It will check if it's the first time the script runs. If so, it will retrieve all of the tweets via the search API from Twitter. It will then parse and clean all the tweets. If it's not the first time it runs, it goes and looks, are there new tweets available? If so, it will only retrieve the new tweets. After that, it can also sleep. So we are then going to retrieve all observables from the CTR inspect API. We're then going to see, hey, are there any observables in this Twitter or in this tweet? If so, we're going to see if there's any targets. Targets are if any of my hosts in my environment reached out to one of those observables. If not, we're going to skip the tweet, go on to the next one. Now, if there are any sightings, we're going to create a casebook and WebEx Teams alert and set it as a high priority because we have to look at it now because someone actually reached out to it. If not, we're just going to create the casebook, but we're not going to give it a high priority. Now, if there are more tweets in the queue, we're going to loop. If not, we're going to sleep. Now here you see an actual demo of the script. And as you can see here, this is basically the Twitter dashboard. And as you can see, there's all kinds of observables that you can find here. And you can scroll down and it just keeps on going. There's all kinds of observables that are for this in this hashtag. Now I can manually go and copy paste those into thread response. And yeah, basically what it will do is it will do an enrichment. And that means it's going to ask all of my modules, have you seen this before? And what do you know about it? Is this malicious? As you can see here, it found a couple of observables and some information about it, but I don't have any targets. So that's good in this case. Now, this is the actual API that I used. So it's called the search API, the standard search API. And with the Q for query, you can basically search for hashtags. And with the since ID, I can make sure that I'm not parsing the same tweet twice, because I'm only searching the most recent tweets. Now, on top of that, I'm using the thread response Python API module. And I made a script, as you can see here, a Twitter search script, and it uses the Twitter and thread response modules. And basically, there's a whole page written about this in the DevNet Code Exchange, so you can try this out yourself. And I explain all of the functions in there. So as you can see, I'm returning non-clean observables, checking for sightings, and I'm creating a case in casebook. And as you can see here, if there are sightings, so if it's not 0, I'm adding this high priority tag to the tweet and also to the case in casebook and also to the message in WebEx Teams. Now here's where I'm searching for the tweets. And I want to make sure that I'm not parsing the same tweet twice. So therefore, I'm using this since ID for that, which is a very nice way that Twitter basically built their API. Now, as you can see, if I were to actually run this script, then you see that it's going to parse the config file. It say, hey, there's new tweets, and I'm going to run. And indeed, it worked. So a new tweet was detected, and a case was added to casebook. And the tweet was by anonymous. And as you can see here as well, I'm posting these now myself. Obviously, you can also create a bot to do this. And as you can see here, in casebook, I have all of them available in my casebook. So from here, I can go and start doing investigations. The original tweet is actually in the description of the case in casebook, so that the security operation center analyst immediately can see that something is wrong and can see the source of the information, which is the tweet from Twitter. As you can see here I have a high priority tweet, and I can investigate this as well. And what you'll see is that I'll have an actual target immediately showing up. So this was my very brief lightning talk to show you what you can do with the threat response APIs and the Twitter search API. Now, if you want to try this yourself, you can go ahead and go to the link in the code exchange that is in my slide deck and do it yourself. All the instructions and the YouTube video is there to start coding immediately. Enjoy.